Hello. Hi, and welcome to the Katie Halper Show. I'm your host, surprisingly named Katie Halper. It is April 20th, otherwise known as 420, and I'm here in the studio as usual with Reggie Johnson on the engineering equipment.
Hello.
And hi, Reggie. How's it going?
I'm all right. Happy 420.
Happy 420 to you. And I'm also here with my side piece. I can call you that, right?
Side piece?
Right?
Really?
Sidecar, sidekick,
Yeah,
side
whatever.
piece.
It's totally
You know
inappropriate.
what? Jesus is my side piece.
He's my side piece, too. That's why we're connected.
That's
with
it.
Gabe Pacheco,
Okay.
hilarious comedian, who has his own show every Wednesday.
You're right. It is Wednesday. It is my favorite day of the week because
Hump
every
day.
Wednesday, hump day, that's right, save the whales, hump day. Every Wednesday, I get to come here. I have the privilege of being on the Katie Halper Show as the sidekick / side piece. I get to see Reggie Johnson. What's up, Reggie?
Hey there, Gabe.
And then at 10 p.m., I get to go to Pete's Candy Store in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, for my weekly stand-up showcase, Funhouse Comedy, which I co-host with the wonderful Samir Nassim.
Yes.
So, yeah, Wednesday's the best, man.
It's the best. And Gabe, you guys can't see him, unfortunately, because we're not filming yet. But we're going to start filming this show. Why not, right?
I feel like right now I look as though if Spud McKenzie wasn't a pit bull but was in fact a human being.
I don't know who that is.
That it was.
Wow, really?
Yeah, who is that? I never know these, like, pop.
Hey,
It was a huge pop reference back in the 1980s.
is it?
any listener who knows who Spud McKenzie is, if you can just shoot a photo of that mascot to Katie Halper's Twitter account, that would be fantastic.
Yes,
so
please.
she can see
Sure,
exactly
why not?
who it is that we're talking about.
We are going to have such a great show today. It's kind of not even funny.
Why is that, Katie? Why is this show going to be so amazing?
Well, we're going to be talking to Josh Fox, and you may have heard of Josh Fox.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I might
He
have
did
heard
the
of
film
that guy.
Gasland.
Oh, that's an award-winning...
Oscar-nominated, Sundance award-winning film. He's also a Bernie Sanders surrogate, and his new film, How to Let Go of the World and Love All the Things Climate Can't Change. I know why the jailed bird sings. Just kidding. I'm adding some more words to it. Is opening tonight at IFC. And so he's going to be talking to us about that. And we'll also be talking to some other surprise guests. And we'll keep you informed about that. We want to keep you on...
I'm on the edge of my seat right
Exactly,
now, Katie.
that was the point, yeah.
I'm sitting here with bated breath. I don't know who the surprise guests are.
I know. And
No
you're
one
sitting,
tells me
you're sitting
anything
right
about
next
it.
to him.
What?
We are speaking with and joined by none other than Jonathan Clarke, a Long Island attorney who endorsed Bernie Sanders and is running for Steve Israel's Long Island congressional seat. And not only that, which is exciting in itself, right?
Yeah.
I mean, very exciting. But he filed a lawsuit regarding New York fraud.
Do you know what I love?
What?
Lawsuits, and I love hearing about New York fraud. So this is gonna be fantastic for me.
There's so much already to talk about.
Is there? I don't know what's going on with fraud in New York right now.
Well, Esquire, counselor.
Yes, I actually just ran up from Adams Street in a wool suit, so I'm a little sweating over here.
No, good. We like politicians who sweat. We don't like them to be too
We like to know that
manicured.
you're working hard.
Yeah.
I'm definitely working hard. Well, I'm running hard. Well, yeah, so basically the lawsuit is about the hundreds of thousands of people throughout New York State who have been purged from the voter rolls inexplicably. And what we're trying to do with this lawsuit is sort of a modest thing that we're asking for because we want something that's achievable. Right now, if you cast what's called an affidavit ballot, or some people call it a provisional ballot, the Board of Elections will take that provisional ballot and match it up against a voter roll. And if it's not on a voter roll, they're going to just throw it in the garbage. So they're going to do this behind a closed door and without any due process to the voter. What we're asking the judge to do is to take that ballot and have the Board of Elections come into open court and explain why that ballot should not be counted, which is the complete opposite of what they do now, which just the Board of Elections does an administrative process. So we figure if you're going to be deprived of your right to vote, you should be at least given due process and not just some sort of administrative thing behind closed doors that you'll never see.
Right. Due process for disenfranchisement is very important. I think that's wasn't that in the Constitution? No disenfranchisement without due processization?
Yeah, in front of a judge.
Exactly.
In front of a judge.
So my question then is this: you're talking about people who were part of the Democratic Party who are being whose votes have been invalidated, or they were somehow. Why were they taken off the registration rolls? I don't understand how this works.
That's what we want to know too. We want to know why, especially in Brooklyn. I mean, you guys were hit the hardest with this because all throughout New York State, every county, there's about 60 some odd of them, Democratic enrollment was up, but for some reason, Brooklyn, Democratic enrollment was down. I was just running down the street, and I think I saw a lot of Democrats. So I myself, I'm a little bit surprised about that. The head of the Board of Elections, Michael Ryan, said that basically a lot of people have died. So there might have been a plague that hit Brooklyn. I haven't heard about.
Like 120,000 people died in Brooklyn.
It could be,
or went missing.
Right.
They could have been. It was the day before 420, so maybe they were like preparing and got high and forgot to. I don't know.
To register themselves in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
Okay.
And the other thing that's interesting that what Michael Ryan said, he said that the Board of Elections fell behind because there was an election in November. So the actual process of having an election sort of throws the Board of Elections out of whack. So
You'd think that would have primed the pump and got them ready, like greased the wheels, got them ready, like they'd already had the experience of running an election, so they would have been seasoned.
Right, you would think that, or it's just sort of an odd excuse. It's sort of like, I'm a police officer, I couldn't arrest somebody because I just made an arrest. And,
right. They need some downtime.
Yeah, they needed another couple of years between elections instead of having all these pesky primaries.
Right, so annoying. And of course, we didn't mention this, but you guys may know this, that Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump both won New York's primary last night. Did you guys hear that? Do we have an applause? Exactly, yeah.
So wait, my question about this, though, is that if we are in fact going to have the more votes perhaps recognized, then is that primary valid, or is this sort of, what is it symbolic that we would show these voters? Like, let's say 120,000 votes are acknowledged. Do the primary candidates who would have gotten those votes get those votes retroactively?
Right. So we're in territory right now, that's sort of uncharted because in within the United States we have Bush v. Gore, and that's sort of the process. You can't unring a bell. You're not going to overturn an election. But I mean, we've seen throughout the country in Nevada and elsewhere that Bernie Sanders has picked up votes through different means. I mean, more delegates through different means. So we're hoping that in this election that at least the provisional ballots will be counted, and he can pick up some percentage on that. I think the number was about 7 to 10% of Democratic voters were purged in Brooklyn. 7 to 10% could swing this election, so that's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, and I actually know two people whose votes were not counted. So,
yeah. I mean, do we have to call in Jimmy Carter? Do you think to monitor these elections in New York?
That's the thing, New York. For the longest time has had horrible voter laws, but they're not really brought to national attention like they are now, simply because the primaries don't really matter here. And, in 2012, we had the 6th worst turnout in New York State. So there's 44 states that did better than us in 2012 presidential elections. So obviously people don't think their vote counts, and they're very apathetic about it. And this situation just made it worse. And, the reality is we have a closed primary system. And I don't know if everybody listening knows what that is, but it's based.
No, yeah. You know what I was thinking we could do? Maybe let's have a segment with you here that's like, explain it to me as if I knew nothing, as if I were an alien who just landed.
I just got here. I have no idea
what a closed primary is, what delegates are. I mean, you don't have to go back too far. We know what presidents are, but I feel like, honestly, most people don't really understand what's going on when they hear a lot of these terms. So,
right. Okay. So. The election system.
Did I tell you that our biggest audience is our kindergartners?
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. I'm good with that.
Just kidding.
I'm a politician, so they
kidding.
They did an analysis of speeches, and the less syllables you have, the more people like you.
Right, I remember reading that.
Yeah,
I'll try to be monosyllabic.
Use the word. You say
huge and
good. Even better.
Yeah. So basically, New York is what's called a closed primary system, where you have to be registered in a party to vote for the candidate of your choice, which in itself isn't terrible. Honestly, an open primary system is more fair. But what makes New York's closed primary system worse than other states, and we absolutely have the worst version of this, is that you have to make your choice 8 months in advance that you're going to be voting in a Democratic or Republican primary. They call these anti-party rating statutes, which is the idea behind it is if you're a Republican and you want the weak Democratic candidate to win, you go register as a Democrat, go vote in their primary, and put their bad candidate up. That's the reasoning behind these laws. But the truth of it is, it makes sure that there's low voter turnout. And the second part to that is if you have an entrenched Democratic candidate who just deals with the party and doesn't really want to help anybody, he only has to motivate a very small percentage of the base to get out to vote for him or her.
Like a boss Tweed.
Exactly. So they call it anti-party rating. So, yeah, nobody wants the party to be taken over by Republicans. That sounds horrible, but what it really should be called is the Establishment Candidate Protection Program. And
I like that. The Establishment Candidate Protection
Law. I don't know.
Program sounds good.
Program
It sounds
sounds
like
good.
it sounds like witness protection
Yeah,
program
exactly.
for
Right.
Yeah, that one I made up on the spot. See,
No, I like that. You heard it here first, guys. Historic moment. Historic moment.
the Establishment Candidate Party Protection Program.
Party Protection Program.
Sounds more fun if you say Party Protection Program.
Yeah, so I mean that's what we have here, and that's the reason we have these closed primary systems. Then when you take into consideration, we purge voters. So if you haven't voted in a couple of years, the Board of Elections are just going to throw you off the rolls. The reasoning behind that one might make a little bit more sense because you don't want people that are 175 years old still.
Don't be ageist.
No, I love people that are 175.
Me too.
Some of my
They're
best
so
friends.
wise. They're so sage. Yeah.
They are.
But you think there's a way that they could do? I mean, the IRS can always find you and knows exactly who you are. We pay bills all the time. Isn't there some way that they could figure out whether someone registered to vote as 106 year if they've died or not? Like with that, seems like it's not too hard a thing to do with technology.
Right. You know, you would think so. You would think that maybe we should kick this 2-election cycle rule into place after 75 years old or something to that effect. But the thing about the Board of Elections, it's run by they have for each Democrat you hire, you also have to hire a Republican, so it stays equal on the Board of Elections. And the other thing is the Board of Elections doesn't actually do anything, so you basically pay your friends back by giving them a job at the Board of Elections for $85,000, $90,000 a year, and let them sit there making up arbitrary rules.
Well, this sounds a little bit more like the mob.
Yeah, I know.
It sounds great. Like you get a job at the docks and you don't have to do much.
Yeah. Actually, your job at the Board of Elections usually is to campaign. So it's sort of like a wing of the party paid for by taxpayer money.
Sounds awesome.
Fantastic. So it's like your street team. Like if you're a comedy club and you've got a street team that hands out flyers.
Barkers.
It's a barker for the party?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
That's exactly what they do.
And were you surprised by the results of yesterday's election?
No, absolutely not. I knew in the closed primary system that 8 months ago, when Bernie Sanders wasn't on the radar of most people, that it's just he wasn't going to get the vote that he wanted. That's the other thing in New York. Democratic Party is probably the most enrolled, but right after that are people that are unaffiliated. So a third of the people don't have a party. And, I mean, that really is a third of the vote. There you go. Besides just the purging, the independents, New York penalizes you for being independent.
Right. That we don't like independent thinkers, apparently.
No, absolutely not.
No, stick with the team.
Yeah, exactly. Group think, herd mentality.
Yeah, get in a lane, find a lane, pick a lane, choose it.
Stay in it.
Who's
Stay
your
in
leader?
lane.
Make a banner.
Well, it's interesting because what's fascinating is that people who are actually Hillary supporters and have endorsed her are still, they're not talking so much about open versus closed primaries, but they are talking about these irregularities, right?
Right.
So you have various politicians who have supported Hillary, and a lot of Hillary's defenders online, at least on the Twitters, are kind of making fun of people for caring about this. They're saying we're being hysterical, we're being alarmist, but then you have people coming out, and a lot of whom have endorsed Hillary. So it's hard to spin this as a kind of politically motivated conspiracy theory.
Right. Well, that's the other thing. I mean, within the lawsuit on this, we're trying to stay nonpartisan, and because I know that does throw people off. But at this point, we don't even really know what happened with these voters, and we don't know. I've heard conspiracy theories that Birdie's what's called VAN, voter identification network, was hacked, and people are showing up on that. I mean, there are some reasons on Long Island, the victims of Superstorm Sandy, they were forced to vote through affidavit ballot, and Governor Cuomo allowed them to do that. And then once they voted through the affidavit ballot, they were knocked off the voter rolls. So a lot of those people now have been victimized twice by the storm. So
wow. Yeah. And Governor Cuomo.
Who's...
Well, Governor Cuomo just gave Hillary a huge endorsement. He called her progressive. And who is better equipped to make that endorsement than Governor Cuomo, a beacon for progressives?
Shining example.
Yeah, exactly. Shining example. I keep hearing that, both candidates are dishonest. Both candidates are represented have lobbyists influencing them.
Super PACs. Both candidates smear. Both candidates do this, that, the other. And it's just so not true. It's not true. In fact, I want to launch a series called How to Be a Better Shill. A more effective shill. Here's the thing. I'm not endorsing anyone because we're on WBAI. We're fair and balanced.
I would say that there's a bit of a media bias towards one of the candidates whose name rhymes with Shillery. Weird. That just popped into my head. And I think that you can say, if I were hypothetically defending Hillary Clinton, I wouldn't say, oh, Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton are equally smearish. I wouldn't say they're equally compromised. But I would say, because I think this has some credibility, I would say maybe, well, the Clintons get a lot of stuff done, and to do that you have to compromise. Because that has some honesty to it.
Yeah, and they cross the aisle for bipartisan policies and programs, projects.
Exactly, whatevs. I can't stand the idea, though. I always hate false equivalency arguments because they're almost never accurate, like Fox News and MSNBC, although MSNBC is kind of getting pretty, well, it's another discussion. Right. But I don't know if you heard about this, but Politico had an article about some of the reasons that they thought that Bernie didn't do as well as expected. And one of the reasons was because Paul Song, I don't know if you heard about this, Dr. Paul Song, he's this really amazing doctor who spoke at the Washington Square Park rally last week. I was actually there. And he said something about BS. He's like, enough with the BS. If people tell you the status quo is okay, that's BS. But he didn't use BS. He used the real words. And he did mention corporate whores. Mm-hmm. And I heard that. And when I heard that, I was like, wow, he went there. He really went there. But I didn't think, wow, he went there like sexism. Or, wow, he went there, he just called Hillary that. Because his speech was very clearly respectful of Hillary.
He was talking about people who are in the pockets
He was talking about Congress, actually. And it's so funny because when he said corporate whores, right? So all these people, these professionals who work for Hillary Clinton and David Brock and Blue Nation Review, Peter Dow, Taoism, we talk about the Taoist way. Mm-hmm. The smear of the day. You want some smear with that bagel? They attacked him, and this woman, Melissa McEwen, attacked him for his misogyny and how he had to apologize to Hillary Clinton. In headlines, lots of headlines are saying that he said the word whore, not whores. And, of course, that's really convenient to make it singular and not plural because it's hard to pretend that someone's calling Hillary Clinton a whores. Mm-hmm. So there's so much Orwellian language games, so many Orwellian language games. And that's one example. The other thing is that the tone stuff, I'm sorry, we don't have the same thing on the Bernie side. Someone apparently, an aide to Clinton told a reporter, Gawker has this story, that someone said F you blank blank Bernie. Can you imagine if someone had said that about Hillary Clinton? Like the resignations that would be demanded, even if they don't know who the person was. They would ask, I'm sure they would demand her to disavow that. So I want to start something where we do an apology, where we demand an apology of the week. Of Clinton surrogates, and I'm not sure who to go with. I think should we start with a big one? Hakeem Jeffries.
Yes.
Okay. I hope that this isn't you may see him at a dinner party for your
Oh, no.
job?
The party absolutely despises me, so
Oh, good.
there's
okay.
no chance I'll run into anybody.
Okay. So Hakeem Jeffries is a congressman, and he called Bernie Sanders a gun-loving socialist. I would like, on behalf of all people
Sounds
in the
like
world,
Fidel Castro,
Yeah.
Yeah.
a gun-loving
I
socialist.
mean, which to us, what we don't, you don't get, Gabe. He's trying to insult him.
Oh,
Right? Clarification.
yeah.
But I would like Hakeem Jeffries to apologize, and I would like I'm not going to say the Clintons. I would like Hillary Clinton to disavow that statement. Mm-hmm. How's that? Are you going to tell me that saying corporate whores is worse than calling someone specifically a gun-loving socialist?
Right, because socialist is a trigger word for some people, and then
No
gun-loving.
pun intended.
Yeah.
Trigger word.
Oh, snap!
Look at that.
Didn't even think about that.
And can you tell us? So that's our apology demand of the day. We're gonna have a sound effect that's like
You
thank
should
you're wel-
hashtag that.
I know, right? Or what should it be? Tone something like a civility check of the day.
Like a tone check.
Tone check?
Yeah, tone check.
Yeah, tone check is
Or
more.
Clintonian.
Flows better.
Clintonian. We'll figure it out. We'll put it. We're gonna do a hashtag for it. But what about? Tell us why you feel the burn, and tell us if there's any possibility that Bernie could win.
I mean, the reason that I endorse Bernie and the reason that I started to run for Congress is just because politics is so full of corruption, and you take out his economic theories, and some people disagree on the tax system, but those are numbers, and that can be figured out at a later date. But the important thing is just the honesty and the integrity when it comes to fighting the corrupt systems that we have, whether it's the corrupt finance systems that we have, campaign finance systems, or the actual corrupt campaign laws, or any of this stuff. It's just you can't possibly hear what Bernie Sanders says and want to vote for anybody else that's up there right now. So, I mean, for me, I've been in politics for only about 4 years now, and I've been saying similar things and been ostracized for it. So when someone like Bernie Sanders came along and he was just this galvanizing force that gave everybody the courage to finally say the things that they really believed and to stand up to entrenched Democratic Party hacks, I just felt motivated to run.
That's awesome. Congressman, member of
yeah.
Congress, please. one of the non-corporate whores.
Yeah, well,
I would say not even a whores.
Well, I'm not there yet, but I mean, if when I get there,
Right.
Yeah,
If all turns,
we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Well, you got the Katie Halper show bump.
All right.
So things are really looking good.
Yeah.
We can't officially formally endorse, but don't worry, just being here. Speaking of entrenched interests, did you guys see this this article going around on Medium that's called "On Becoming Anti-Bernie"? It's huge. It's been shared. It's the third most popular.
Katie, tell me all about it, because it showed up on my Facebook
Right.
feed the morning of the primaries.
It's written by a woman named Robin Alperstein, and it's called "On Becoming Anti-Bernie." And it says, I started out liking Bernie Sanders, though I leaned slightly toward Hillary Clinton. Yet I've come to the point where I can barely stand his face, and I just want to stop jabbing his finger as he brays the same slogans in every single venue over and over. How did I get to this point, especially as someone who had reservations about Clinton and who is thrilled that Sanders has been able to unlock a thirst for liberal policy within the electorate in a way that I haven't seen in my adult life, and in a way that I hope may change the landscape of what is possible? Well, then she takes 43 minutes, or 42 minutes, according to Medium, which gives you a time estimate of how long it takes you to read something. She goes through it and makes a bunch of interesting arguments. And one of my favorite ones is that he pushed his wife. She says that he literally pushed his wife. There's video of them standing at a podium, and he gestures and maybe taps her. But you're an attorney. I think that's libel.
That is. Well, then you have to go onto the other side of it and find out whether he had an intention to do harm when he touched her. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
right.
This one is a very complicated case.
All right, Robin Alperstein, you're safe this time. But next time you commit libel, which falls under defamation, right?
Yeah, but the fortunate thing in the media, you should be happy about that, is that you have First Amendment protection under Times-Sullivan standard from the Supreme Court. So basically, you'd have to show malicious intent. And I don't think you would have it in this case. Well, maybe you would.
It's becoming anti-Sanders, anti-Bernie. I mean, okay, there's a bunch of different things that are problematic about it. She talks about his becoming red-faced She talks about his voice, that he doesn't seem to have an inside voice. Can you imagine if we talked about the color of Hillary's skin and the tone of her voice?
Oh, tone checking?
Tone check. And she has an entire section of her article which is listed as temperament. Like it's a subsection, bold letters. Also, I like the way she brings up that he literally pushes his wife. Because if we want to make this election about the relationship between the candidate and his or her spouse, then let's do that.
Bill has never, ever done anything.
Nothing. He's a mensch.
As
Perfect.
Even remotely similar to or worse than pushing
not
his
at all.
wife.
A
Not at all.
gentleman's gentleman.
He is, exactly. And, you know, all the myths about Bernie, he has no foreign policy experience, even though that's not true. Hillary has a lot. She does, but it's experience doing things that I think are wrong. So that is a form of experience. And she calls him lazy. In the same article that she's saying that Sanders smears Clinton, she calls him lazy. Crotchety, testy and sarcastic. So you want to talk about affect and demeanor? Fine. We'll do that. Okay. But here's my favorite part. Do you know what this woman does? Do you know who she is? She's a lawyer. She works at Becker Glynn. And these are her specialties. And I'm just reading from her website. Defending witnesses before the SEC in connection with various investigations involving credit default swaps, CDOs, and CLOs. Defending several hedge funds and a healthcare company in tribune fraudulent conveyance actions. Defending a holding company against claims for conspiracy to commit fraud in connection with an alleged pump-and-dump market manipulation scheme. Defending publicly traded domestic companies against wage and hour class action in New York State Court. She advised a hedge fund in connection with investigation of Ponzi schemes and corporate governance issues.
Hello.
And this is my favorite, though. She literally, I'm not kidding, she represented, now I get you have to represent your client, right? But she chooses to spend her life representing corporations and hedge funds. And she happened to also defend these Chilean aristocrats named Malu Custer Edwards and Mickey Hurley, who were sued for trafficking and abusing their nanny, who they brought with them to the United States. And the nanny was able to escape.
Nice.
Thanks to contacting Safe Horizons. And when asked about it, Alberstein said the claims are completely without merit and will be fully refuted in court. But the Department of Labor did order them to pay back over $5,000 in wages. And this is just one of the examples of this socialite couple. But I just wanted to give that. So I don't know. Context. Will Bernie Sanders ever recover from a criticism from a hit piece by a woman who represents every single thing he's fighting against?
She sounds like a character from the movie The Devil's Advocate. She sounds like she
God.
works at the law firm
Yeah.
where Al Pacino plays Satan.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So like that's
You could the only person who would be worse writing this would be like a literal fat cat, like a cat, an animal that is fat. Like that would be better optics. Well, Jonathan Clarke. John, do you want me? Should we call you John or Jonathan?
Jonathan Clarke will be on the ballot, but
Okay.
when you meet me or you see me on the street, John.
See, he's just a regular guy,
Just
like
regular
Bernie,
John.
a mensch.
Yeah.
What's your back? Can I ask you what your ethnic background is?
Irish Catholic.
So you could be, Bernie may not make it to the presidency, but you could. You could be the Irish Bernie.
Irish Bernie, yeah, definitely.
That should be your motto.
Yeah. Corned beef instead of matzo or something.
Exactly.
boom. I like
Oh
corned
my
beef
God.
on rye.
Corned beef on rye. How about
No
this?
problem.
Ready for this? Potato famine latke.
Oh, I like that. That's not actually good.
That sounds like sad.
Sad and not a lot of potato in that latke. All onion and bread batter, whatever, flour, whatever
That's
it's
how I
called.
like my latkes.
Yeah. And how I like my men. Nope. I don't know. There's nowhere to go with that. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us. And where can people find you on the internet? I know I have your Twitter here. And your Twitter is Vote Clarke 2016. And Clarke has an E at the end.
Absolutely.
And any websites?
ClarkForCongress.com is my website.
Well, thank you so much. And any predictions before you leave? Anything you think could happen, will happen with the country, with the presidency?
I predict that my lawsuit is actually going to have some sort of effect on this election. It's going to buy him a couple delegates. I think that he's going to take Pennsylvania. He's absolutely going to take California.
Yes.
By huge numbers.
And
So-
then what happens? Then we just need some delegates, super delegates to defect?
Right. I mean, that's what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to try to lobby some of these super delegates and get them to feel the burn.
How do we lobby them? Send them flowers, fruit,
chocolates.
chocolates, not fruit baskets. No one likes those. Not those breads.
Yeah. What do these guys? What do they want? What do the
Money.
superdelegates want?
Money. All right,
Yeah,
I'll
like
send
money.
him $1 bill.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Kickbacks.
Yeah, kickbacks.
kickbacks,
Yeah.
basically.
Well, again, thank you so much for joining us, and keep up the good fight, and keep us updated about what's happening with this lawsuit.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, could I say just...
Yeah, of course.
If anybody has found themselves purged from the voter rolls and they had a vote by affidavit ballot, or they were turned away, or they have a story of how they had to wait more than a couple hours to see a judge to actually allow them to vote, then please contact Election Justice USA, and through that they can create what's called an affidavit that I can submit to court. So I'm looking for as many stories as possible so that this can have some sort of impact on the judge, because this federal judge that I went before, she said that it's not too much of a burden to ask people to go 3 or 4 hours to go see a judge to get a court order. And I told her there's a lot of people that are working and they don't have cars to actually drive to see a judge, and this is going to disproportionately affect poor people, but it didn't seem to
But
really register.
Isn't that kind of the point? Let's be honest. I mean, in a way, right? I feel like this is a kind of a modern-day poll tax.
No, it absolutely is. And the worst part about it is the judge actually believed what she was saying. I mean, she's a nice woman, but, you know, in her world, where she comes from, when you get into your Volvo, it's no real trouble to go down there and pay the babysitter an extra, or the nanny an extra couple hours.
Right. She's not, I mean, she doesn't have a kidnapped nanny like the client of
No.
Robin Alperstein. But, yeah, I mean, it's just, and upstate, they changed the time to noon?
Right.
Why?
I don't know what you mean. What do you mean?
Oh,
noon?
sorry, they opened the polls upstate.
So you couldn't go early before school. You couldn't go at the beginning of the day before work.
Right. So if you work, if you're, if you don't work, if you're like a socialite, you're fine.
Yeah, that's a big demographic upstate for
Yeah.
Bernie.
Can you give us the name one more time of where people should contact?
Election Justice USA. They were the organization that tried to help in Arizona when all the irregularities happened there. They contacted my firm to see if they could do something preemptively in New York. Unfortunately, we got something in, but the judge wouldn't hear it. And now they're going to try to go to Pennsylvania and see if they can do something there before disaster happens there.
Okay,
So
great.
should we go to Pennsylvania? Should we do pre-planning? Like event, what is it? Event planning?
Yeah, if it,
Pre-events? What is
Pre-production?
Yeah, kind of, yeah. Let's set up. Advance. That's what it's
advance group.
called.
The vanguard, the
It-
spearhead.
Well, that too, but I mean, it's literally a job. It's like I'm working
Scouting.
for this campaign. Advance.
the advance group, that sounds more
Yeah.
like a corporate thing that Hillary would have set up there. The way to
How could you say that? They're both corporate. They both smear people. They both compare Jesse Jackson to Barack Obama. They both publish pictures of Barack Obama with the turban on his head. They both remind people of RFK's assassination.
They
just to
both have hot
encourage
sauce
people.
in their bags.
Oh my God, so much hot sauce.
But only
It's not
one
even
has a nice
funny.
brown suit.
By the way, can I just read you guys one really short, really funny thing to show you how tense it's gotten online? This is a comment that someone made when I posted a meme of Hillary Clinton. The meme shows her face, and it says, "That face you make when hot sauce explodes in your purse and gets all over your mixtape and Newports." Thank you. Red, you really like that, right? And someone responded to this on Facebook. It was basically an expose in which the person on Facebook accused me of not knowing that this woman, that Hillary Clinton, had a documented history of liking hot sauce. And
She keeps Serrano chilies. She used to keep them in a garden in the White House.
right. Yeah, I mean, literally, it's like as if that's the takeaway that I was like, I have substantive things to criticize her for, but the hot sauce thing you shouldn't be wasting your time on.
Right.
So that was just a little.
Well, it's verifiable proof that she had hot sauce during the time of the Benghazi happening.
Oh my God! Exactly.
Yeah. So
Exactly. She was being negligent. Thank you so much again, Jonathan Clarke. Thank you for coming. So we are. Gabe, what do you think of the elections? What do you think of purging? What do you think of the argument that you were talking about dads talking about their daughters?
Oh, what I think. I mean, I just think it's interesting. Everyone's voting emotionally. We all do that. We all want to project our own feelings and our what we want and our hopes for the future. And I hear some guys say, I really want Hillary to win because I have a 5-year-old daughter, and I want her to have that role model. And I think it's great to have role models for your daughter. I just was wondering if that's the most positive one you could have. I mean, aren't there? It's not like we're bereft of
Ava Braun. We have her.
You went left. I was going to go.
Yeah.
I was. Gonna
I
go,
went right. Really.
You did. I was thinking. Well, there's like a Ruth Bader Ginsburg who could be like a great role model. There's a Harriet Tubman that's going to be on the $20 bill. That's a role model. Dolores Huerta. There's Helen Keller.
Oh yeah.
Emma Goldman.
Helen Keller, real big time hero.
You know,
not just blind and deaf and mute, but a socialist.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
I mean, there are tons of powerful women out there, and great legacies they've had. There's Mitzi Shore from the Comedy Store. I mean, you could have your daughter read.
People may not know what that is.
You know what? Anybody who loves comedy knows exactly who Mitzi Shore is.
Well, people in this who are familiar with the airways of WBAI knows of a person named of Angela Davis and Nina Simone and Dorothy Height.
Maya Angelou.
Okay. Yeah, those are good ones.
Jane Goodall.
Barbara Jordan.
Keep them coming.
Let me see. The one that was running for president, Shirley
Chisholm.
Yes,
that was
sir.
coming.
Shirley Chisholm.
Fannie Lou Hamer.
Fannie Lou Hamer.
We can
Ida B. Wells.
Ida B. Terrible. Sorry, I couldn't. Ida B. Wells. Ida B. Good.
We could go international.
That's right. What was the name of the Afghani woman that had? Acid.
Pakistani woman?
Pakistani, I'm sorry.
Not acid, but a gunshot to
It
the
was
head.
I knew
Malala.
it was something. Malala. I knew it was something like that.
But there are Afghanistan incidents of acid throwing. So we just gave you a little whirlwind tour of all the women that you could support. And we are now joined, right now? Okay, we are so excited because we have none other than Josh Fox joining us. And Josh Fox... Are you live at the movie theater?
I am. I'm outside the movie theater.
Right.
3rd Street and 6th Avenue at the IFC Center on noisy 6th Avenue.
No, it's great. We like the ambient sound. It gives
exciting.
us a lot of... Yeah, and of course, Josh's movie is How to Let Go of the World and Love All the Things Climate Can't Change. And Josh is the director of the Oscar-nominated documentary Gasland. And he's also feeling the burn. So
That's
we thought it'd be great to talk to Josh on this at this historic moment where we just had an election in New York, and when his film, more importantly, probably when his film is opening at the IFC. So Josh,
tonight's the opening night. This is the way we planned it, so that we would be here before the New York primary, and that we could continue whatever happened at the primary, win or lose, at the theater. So that's and I will be at the theater tonight, tomorrow night, and through the weekend. At the 7 p.m. showings and at the 4 p.m. showings on Saturday and Sunday, because it's so important, I think, right now that we have a discussion about climate change in New York City and a discussion about the political revolution in New York City, just days after the primary. So I invite everybody to come down. We have an amazing set of guest hosts tonight. James Cromwell from the movie Babe, who's quite an amazing...
That'll do, Babe. That'll do.
True. He's quite an amazing activist himself, fighting pipelines and power plants in upstate New York. Tomorrow, Susan Sarandon is coming in to do a discussion with me. Friday night, we have Kate Hudson from Riverkeeper and members of the subjects from the film. Saturday, another star-studded lineup, Lauren Singer, who is the Trash for Tossers. She is the person who has generated only one mason jar worth of garbage in the last 2 years.
That's like my hourly rate.
Right, it's your hourly rate. And then in the evening, Dr. Benjamin Barber, who wrote the great book Jihad versus McWorld. And then on Sunday, Nellie McKay, the great singer, and Jim McKay, who is a terrific film director, and Morgan Jeunesse, who is an incredible literary and dramaturg figure. So, listen, come on down to the IFC Center because it's going to be an incredible series of discussions this week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, and the film has gotten great reviews. It looks really great. You travel all around the world, right? And
Yeah. The film goes to 12 countries on 6 continents. So all the continents where there are people. We skipped Antarctica.
Oh, wow. Well, that's where we follow up. Gabe, my co-host, I'm here with Gabe Pacheco and Reggie Johnson. You just gave us a mission. The Katie Halper Show goes to Antarctica.
Yeah.
I would like to see WBAI broadcasting from the South Pole.
You know what?
That would be interesting.
Yeah, that would be interesting. I mean, it's probably more likely that we resolve the Israeli-Palestinian conflict tomorrow than that happening, but who knows?
Right. Huh?
And as someone who's feeling the burn, what are you feeling right now?
Well, obviously, I think everyone is extremely upset and disappointed. I think there's a disappointment in that, there weren't more votes, and I think that there's a great deal of anger that the system itself was aligned in a way against any kind of insurgency candidacy like Bernie Sanders. I think that Hillary Clinton learned from losing to Barack Obama in 2008 that she should find a way that the system girds itself against any candidate that everyone might actually like.
Right.
People have sort of fallen in love with Bernie Sanders in the same way as I remember in 2008 people fell in love with Barack Obama. And in a way, Hillary is kind of the perfect foil for a person like Bernie because she's so establishment. She's such a figure for the big banks and in many ways for fracking.
Josh, why do you hate women so much? I can't believe you just said that. You're misogyny. We can just feel it. It's palpable.
Well,
sorry, that was me pretending to be one of the people who tell me that I'm an internalized misogynist. I've internalized misogyny.
I do think it's very, very important that we have more women in politics, without a doubt.
Right.
Unless they're named Sarah Palin. So
right. Or Margaret Thatcher, who's dead.
Right. Well, so in many cases, politics overrides, the need to have gender balance, and I think in this case that's the truth. Like,
if
Bernie
they were the
serves the interests of the people, and Hillary is often serving the interests of the big corporations, and that is part of the problem. And of course, the Democratic establishment in New York State showed its might yesterday, and showed its might throughout the last 6 months. We were not able, as New Yorkers, to change our registrations past October 9th. That was 6 months ago, well before many New Yorkers even knew who Bernie Sanders was, well before many New Yorkers knew that there would be a presidential contest in April. The truth is that that's insane, and that is not democracy.
This is what democracy doesn't look like.
Exactly, and to think, we should have same-day registration in this country, no question. We also had a big problem in that some of our most progressive New Yorkers, I think a lot of people who would vote for Bernie Sanders, are I am getting a hug from my manager, John Slosser.
Hi, John.
I'm outside of the theater. It's actually quite amazing. All these people are lining up. It looks like we're going to have a sold-out house tonight. It's really, it's popping. I'm on the radio, John. Sorry. And so, it seems like that system was rigged against any kind of insurgency candidacy as well. We learned 127,000 voter registrations magically disappeared yesterday.
You know what? It's hard to keep track of things like that.
That's like a better magic trick than David Blaine or whatever.
True.
I don't think even David Blaine could make 127,000 voter registrations disappear. No. But that's what seemed to happen yesterday in New York. We have a lot of issues to discuss, and I think right now, what I was talking about was Working Families Party. Working Families Party is 50,000 New Yorkers, all of whom are the majority very progressive voters. I would think those votes skewed enormously for Bernie Sanders. They were not included in the process. So our most progressive voters are all of our new voters coming in, people who learned of Bernie Sanders in the last 6 months. All these people were excluded from the process. Now that's a problem. I have great worries when exit polls are showing 48 to 52, Bernie to Hillary, and you come out with a 20-point advantage. That doesn't sound right to me.
Right.
And the comptroller is investigating in New York, Scott Stringer. You have a call from Bill de Blasio to find out what happened to those 127,000 voters in just Brooklyn alone.
Right.
And so there's shenanigans, and
right. And these, in all fairness, I mean, De Blasio is a Hillary person, right? So it's not just
so is
people,
Stringer.
right? Both of them are. So people are trying to portray us who are questioning this disenfranchisement as some kind of partisan hacks, but actually, people who like Hillary are asking for it too.
Well, to be honest, without same-day voter registration, without a sense that people can participate in the political process who've been turned on to the political process, I mean, how can we call this democracy? And what really worries me about all of this, first of all, it worries me greatly about the climate, because we know we're in dire shape with the climate, and that's what my film is all about. And that's why we're having these discussions here in New York City nightly at the IFC Center, and we want people to come down for that. But, Hillary's climate plan actually makes climate change worse. When you go towards fracked gas, which is her climate program, to convert our entire energy supply to fracked gas, we make the climate problem worse. We don't make it better, which is sort of the antithesis of having a climate plan to begin with. But my worry is not just on that issue, but on so many issues progressively, that we have skewed so far away from the values that many people think of when we think of the Democratic Party, that it will splinter the Democratic Party if she continues to say things like Nancy Reagan was a great AIDS activist,
right,
or fracking is a terrific climate plan, or, I went and scolded those big banks and wagged my finger at them as I was taking $1,225,000.
Right. Really, she wagged her finger at the Greenpeace activist. That's
well, yeah, I saw that part too.
Right?
Yeah, I saw that part.
Right.
But to say like I wag my finger at you as you hand me $250,000.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty good.
For the speech is crazy. So this is this is a sense of political entitlement and an enforcement on behalf of the Democratic machine in New York State that I think we're not going to hear the end of. People are very, very angry. I've been fielding phone calls all day about not only the shenanigans, which we know about, but also just about the sense that, from the get-go, this primary was meant to exclude people rather than include people, and that as a systemic issue is as angering to folks as it is when you have a major candidate taking this much money from the fossil fuel industry, taking that much money from the banking industry, and so forth. So that's that. I mean, look, as a journalist, I want to do that investigation. I want to find out what happened yesterday. I want to investigate what happened in Arizona, where it was obvious that there was clear voter suppression. So I don't want to talk out of line here, but what I do want to say is that what's exciting about all of this is that the political revolution is in full swing. As I see people lining up here outside the theater, that we're in a place where people have been excited by the value proposition of the political revolution, that there's an idea of principles being evoked here, that we are actually working towards something that is much bigger than any one political cycle, and that's an exciting thing to see happening. And that's what we're doing as we're doing the movie across the country. We're doing the Let Go and Love tour, which is in support of grassroots groups. We have Resist AIM, that is fighting the AIM pipeline, hosting our screening tonight. We have other screenings being hosted by 350.org. We have screenings hosted by grassroots organizations. So I encourage people to go to howtoletgomovie.com, howtoletgomovie.com, and get a part of that excitement. It's very similar to the way we dealt with the fracking movement and the film Gasland, in that we gave the movie directly to the grassroots and said, use this, let's make this happen, let's get our movement on the ground. That's what's happening here with this film. And the issue is the political revolution and climate change. The issue is the morality of what it is to be a citizen in a moment when we're being disenfranchised. What is it to be a citizen when your vote doesn't count? What is it to be a citizen when you can't vote?
What is it to be a citizen when you can't, when you have to swim to get from one place to another because you're underwater? But I just wanted
That's a bigger climate question.
Yeah, and Josh, maybe, just maybe, Hillary Clinton has that Leninist perspective where it won't get better until it gets worse. So maybe that's really what's happening.
That's definitely what's going on.
Right?
Well, listen, I've got to go into the movie.
Okay,
Katie,
well,
I'm sorry about the snafu.
No,
with the
don't
phone
worry.
earlier.
Don't be
Thanks
ridiculous.
so much to you, and
Yeah,
thanks so much
thank
to
you.
WBAI. You guys are amazing.
Yeah,
I'm going to go in and watch this film premiere.
Great, and we're going to come.
Tomorrow night, we got Susan Sarandon in the house.
Right.
Friday, Kate Hudson and Riverkeeper. Great folks showing up. Go to How to Let Go movie and check it out.
Great.
Thank you so much,
Josh. Thank you, Josh Fox, whose film is now at the IFC. And thank you so much to Jonathan Clarke, John Clarke, who's running for Congress. And definitely check him out. And keep documenting all the disenfranchisement that's happening because it's a good time. Document as much as you can. Thank you for joining me, as always, Gabe Pacheco and Reggie Johnson. We will see you next week. And follow us on iTunes and SoundCloud, The Katie Halper Show.
Peace.